Well, hey there, Changemakers. Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. I'm your host, Amy Van Meel, and I'm here to inspire and teach changemakers like you, entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, and people who are doing big things in the world, some tips, tricks, things about business, and we're doing some personal growth on the way. With that, let's dive into today's topic. Well, hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast today. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm on a bit of a Brooke Castillo trip lately. It's so funny. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and depending on, what's going on in my life or what's going on in my business, then I might focus a whole lot more on one podcast over another. And so as I click record to connect with you guys and say hello and talk about today's podcast, I have Brooke Castillo in my mind because I've been listening to her from episode 1. So it's kind of fun. I mean, she's got, 200, 300 episodes now. And I think the last one I listened to was episode 11. And she's like, I can't believe we made it to episode 11, which kind of had me thinking this is episode 24. And that's kind of a big deal, actually. I need to celebrate that a little bit. Like, do you do things where you start something and then the first time it might seem like it's a bit hard, but then you sort of pass it off? I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure you guys do it as well, where then you're just like, well, it's, podcasts, it's not that hard actually. And, I just do it once a week. And you suddenly start to, I know I do this, I suddenly start to sort of diminish what it is that I'm doing. So I first of all, I need to be like, hey, we made it to episode 24, which is kind of a big deal. And it also has my brain going, are we going to do something extra special for episode 25? Because I feel like 25 should be celebrated. Stay tuned. That's next week. And who knows if I can come up with something between now and then. But, I'll let you know. You'll find out on episode 25 if I come up with something really cool and fun and exciting. So if you were tuning into the last week's episode, then you know that I was in San Francisco very recently, and that was a very cool trip. Now, here's the cool thing. There's so many cool things, but here's the cool thing about the trip for me personally. So this is a trip that I won through my interior design business, and I won it a year ago. We finally went this year, and the trip was 100% all-inclusive. Like I literally had to push to be able to buy the cup of coffee at the airport at the beginning of the trip. I said, look, you guys have got everything else covered. Let me at least buy coffee at the beginning of the trip because I've been dreaming about it for like 2 days. And so the trip was amazing. Now, here's the really cool thing for me. Because it was all inclusive, it actually, it required me to step into a frequency of being able to receive everything and to be open to receiving it and to not associate guilt or a sense of needing to repay the kindness and the generosity of the trip. So it was a very, besides all the stuff of it's fun to go somewhere else. It's amazing to be treated to a trip like this. We did some cool touristy things. We did some really cool designer events and industry events while we were there. We were only there for a short amount of time, so we packed as much in as possible. But from a personal standpoint, it was a very exciting trip, and it was just really cool to be able to take a moment and go, okay, if I want to level up my life, if I want to achieve the goals that I have, and the goals that I have, guys, are big. Like, we're not talking small goals. We're talking goals that kind of have me shaking in my boots. Like, oh my gosh, is it really possible for me to do that? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's totally possible. But there's also a good part of me that's like, girl, do you have what it takes to get there? Right? I don't know. The goals that I've set are enormous. So it's cool to be able to then step into this place of receiving this high abundance. And that was very cool. Now, I will say San Francisco was in some ways not what I expected. And so there's a couple of funny things. So first of all, I was stunned right from the beginning, actually, about how the city looks. Now, please don't take offense if you are in San Francisco or in a city that's similar. When we left from the airport, I was shocked at how much just garbage and debris was on the streets. I couldn't believe how many homeless people were literally sleeping in doorways and on sidewalks. And they never bothered us, but they were just sleeping there. And I have not seen that really before. And I've traveled a lot of places. So that was really interesting to me. This as a funny side note, we went for lunch the first day we got there. And as you know, San Francisco is quite hilly. And I'm watching people go by on the sidewalk. And I commented to my friend who was my rep and my chaperone for the trip. I said, I'm kind of disappointed, actually. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, San Francisco is a really hilly city, and people seem to do a lot of walking here. And I feel like for a city that has this kind of topography and for the amount of walking that I imagine would happen, people should have better bums. And I know that's like a weird observation to make, but the whole time I was consistently disappointed with the quality of the bums. I know that's a really weird thing to admit, but yeah, anyway, so those are some funny things that I took away from San Francisco. We got to we did a cable car ride, which was really fun. Of course, we went from the one end that is at Market Street, I believe, and then all the way to the end of the pier by Fisherman's Wharf. We had dinner we ate at Fisherman's Wharf the first night, and then I think this is super fun. We had dinner at the location was Pier 1.5 on the second night, which I'm like, there's a half a pier? So that was cool. Beautiful view both times. We saw sea lions out in the bay, which is really cool. And I was really surprised and in a wonderful way at how friendly everybody was. Everybody from the cable car drivers to the cashiers behind the tills at different places we went to, everybody was so friendly. And it's not that I wasn't expecting them to be that way, but I was surprised at just how friendly they were. So those are some really cool, fun surprises that I really enjoyed. And I learned a lot about San Francisco in our very short time. And yeah, it was just a great trip all around. So I'm deeply grateful for the trip, and I'm grateful for the experience. And if you are into design at all, you can check out my design handle, which is Dutch_touch_interiors, which is the Instagram handle for my design account. And you can see some of the pictures that I shared there as well. So yeah, it was a very cool trip, and I think it's just amazing to get to go, and it was really fun that I was treated, and we got to do some different events. Now, the cool thing was, a few of the events, even though we were there for San Francisco Design Week, the truth is a lot of the events that we went to didn't really have anything to do with design, which seems kind of strange, but it seems that Design Week is sort of an overarching umbrella under which a whole bunch of things fall. So a few of the events that we went to were actually specifically targeted around women. So one of the events was something like women in leadership. And we heard some really cool stories and informational talks from women who are in leadership positions, and a call to action to step up and to also to reach out and look for mentors and guides and people that can walk alongside you to help you go and grow, right? So that was really cool. I'm a huge believer in having a mentor and in potentially mentoring someone as well. I think that over the next little while, I will become more open to mentoring someone myself. If someone approaches me and asks for mentorship, I think that'd be a really cool way for me to share a lot of the knowledge that I have and experience that I have from I feel like a sage person saying, from the many years that I've been doing this. But the truth is, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've learned a lot. And I think that I can definitely give some great value to someone who's open and interested in it. So I'll be open to that opportunity as well. But I have a mentor for my design business, and she has been a game changer for my business. She's been phenomenal as a resource if I've had questions or come across challenging situations in my business. She's been a wonderful touch point just to, talk about industry specific things and share information or sometimes commiserate about, if things go sideways. So it's been a really wonderful experience. I'm deeply grateful for her. She's really a phenomenal woman. I'm blown away by how amazing and generous that she is. So I'm grateful every day for the impact that she's made on my life and in my business. So I definitely recommend a mentor. So it was cool that they were talking about this at the event. And yeah, so lots to learn. And I don't want to spend this whole podcast talking about the things that I did and things that I learned down in San Francisco, but I just wanted to share a few of those touch points because it was quite a fun trip. So today I want to talk about the power of a testimonial. So in your business, whatever stage you're at your business, and no matter what you provide in your business, whether it's a product or a service, a testimonial is a very powerful thing to have for your business. So I'm sure you know what a testimonial is. Basically, a testimonial is someone essentially raving about the products or services that you sell. So in interior design businesses, especially, so service-based businesses for sure, but interior design business is one that I know for sure the power of a testimonial can go a long way, because you want to, so when I look for a testimonial, I want a testimonial that doesn't just say, Amy helped me create this great space. I want to hear about the experience. I want to hear, what was different? Maybe what did you expect, and how did I provide something better, or how did I go over and above, or what have you? I mean, we all love to hear positive things. Like last week's podcast was all about, the words you say, the things that what you're saying about your clients and how you're talking about those things. So we all love to hear those things, but it also teaches me a lot, right? I have received testimonials from clients that really surprised me in what they took away from my experience. I know very early on in my business here in Calgary, one of the testimonials from my client said something along the lines of, she's not just good at helping you select renovations, but she's like a guide to help you through the process. I hadn't really thought about it that way, that it's not just about selecting the right thing and designing the space in the right way, but also to be able to talk the client through what to expect and how the process works, and, what's coming up next and which stages need to happen first in order for the construction to be able to begin. So those are things that I do naturally. It's part of my DNA, and it's a skill that I've definitely honed in my design business. So it was really a cool way to have that identified for me by someone else and say, look, this really made a huge impact on my experience in this project, and I'm grateful that you gave that to me. So that was a really cool, eye-opening experience to have, to learn that. So I'm sure that all of you who are listening know that having a good testimonial is really important and very good for your business. Now, one of the things that a testimonial does is that it gives you some social proof. And that means that there is someone else vetting your service or product to other people. Now, the tricky thing that when it comes to testimonials, because we want to be obviously careful of the privacy. So I always ask my clients how they're comfortable being referenced for a testimonial. Because of, the openness of the internet, there are businesses, I've heard of this happening before, where they create false testimonials, or they ask friends to just go in, log in and provide a testimonial, even though they haven't worked with them. So there is some of that, but the truth is a testimonial is good social proof. It's a touch point for people who may not know you or haven't obviously worked with you yet, to be able to go, oh, okay, there's another person they've worked with and they had a positive experience, so maybe that will help me. And again, when you get a testimonial, it should be in the words of your clients. It should be in their voice. It should be what they would say. It should be their experience. You should never be telling your clients what to say in a testimonial. So then potential other clients can sometimes hear themselves in those words. Even though we think we know our business very well and we think we know the service or the product that we provide and the benefits that those have for our clients, the truth is, like this client that I mentioned earlier, where having someone as a renovation guide was really powerful for her, there are things that our clients will identify that were really fantastic, helpful tools or devices that we just hadn't thought about. So having your clients say them in their own words are really key. And again, having a testimonial is just social proof for others to say, okay, so they've worked with someone else and that person seemed to have success, so maybe this could work for me. That's a lot of what we ask for a testimonial for. The truth is, you're not asking for a testimonial because you want to hear, how great you are or any of those things. You're asking for a testimonial so that you can hold that up and say, look, I've worked with this person. This is what their experience was like. This can work for you as well. So that's what a testimonial is. Now, to that end, if you think about it, a testimonial really is a marketing tool for your business. When we talk about marketing, the spectrum of marketing is enormous. There's so much that falls under the umbrella of marketing. Everything from your ads, whether it's Facebook ads or Instagram ads, whether it's radio spots or flyers that you send out or email blasts that you send out. Like, marketing is such a huge thing. We talked a few episodes about the number one marketing tool that's in your business, and that is you, right? You are the number one marketing tool in your business. Most especially if you are a solopreneur, but definitely it doesn't matter what kind of business owner you are. Think about this. We were talking about Amazon this weekend. I heard some crazy things about Amazon last week. And if you think about Amazon, probably one of the first names and probably the only name that pops into your mind is Jeff Bezos, right? So I don't know anything about him. I don't know him personally, but I know that he's associated with Amazon. And I know that he seems to do some kind of sketchy things. So there's, in my mind, in my heart, there's this thought of, how much do I want to purchase from Amazon because I'm supporting someone who I don't think our values really align. And I don't like how they seem to be treating employees or paying their employees. And, I'm looking at things that are happening. So the truth is, even though Bezos isn't necessarily involved in the day-to-day, and I will likely never ever speak with him or have any direct interaction with him, he is the brand, the marketing of the company. Zuckerberg is the same thing. If you think about Facebook, lots of people don't want to be on Facebook or Instagram purely because they don't like what Mark Zuckerberg is about or what he has done or is doing. So again, even if he's not in the day-to-day operations of everything that you're interacting with on social media, the simple fact that he is the face of the company changes that dramatically. So those are huge examples, right? We're talking like $1 trillion companies where if you're listening to me, you're probably not there yet, but we'll get there. That would be a fantastic place to be, I think. So I just want you to think about that because these aren't necessarily in the day-to-day, and yet that's what we associate that business with. So think about that when it comes to your business, right? How are you presenting? How are you coming across to clients and to potential clients? What do they see? Are you only on, giving air quotes here, when you're at a networking event or in a situation where there is the potential to grow your business? Or are you always open to meeting new people? Are you friendly? Are you supportive to other people and, warm and engaging to them at all times, whether there's an opportunity to do business with them or not? So we can read right away when someone is on and is purely focused on building their business and not in helping anybody else or doing any other greater good other than building their bottom line. We can read that pretty quickly because it comes across as really inauthentic. When you speak with someone who just is genuinely warm and engaging and isn't necessarily looking at you with a calculating eye of, okay, how much money can I get out of this person? Or is it worth talking to this person or not? Because if I can't sell them anything, they're probably not worth talking to. We can feel that immediately. So when I say that you're the number one marketing tool, that's really powerful. I mean, that needs to land. So definitely go have a listen to the episode. I truly can't remember what episode number that is, but I will include it in the show notes. So just as you are the most powerful marketing tool in your business, a testimonial is also a very powerful marketing tool. Now, the truth is, it doesn't matter how good the testimonial is, it will never overcome a poor presentation of yourself. So if you show up and you're rude or you're like really disheveled or what have you, you could have the most amazing testimonials ever and people might give you a second chance, but it's tough to overcome that initial impression. So they do go hand in hand. Now, the cool thing about a testimonial, this is what I really love about testimonials, I kind of mentioned this before, is that it puts the experience of working with you in the voice of your client. And the truth is, what your clients are looking for is not how amazing you are, but if they can see or hear themselves in someone else's experience. So I've talked before about my experience with my chiropractor a few years ago, where I had been I hurt my back. It was quite severe. I could hardly move for months on end. I had been going to physiotherapy and was spending a ton of money, but wasn't seeing results. And finally decided, against my physiotherapist's advice, to seek out a chiropractor because I'm like, I can't afford to just keep coming to you and not see any results. And so I went to the chiropractor and literally in the first session felt an immediate connection and an understanding. The chiropractor knew what I was after. He knew that I would be willing to invest in, getting the results that I wanted in improving my health, but I was not willing to just throw money against the wall and hope that it would get better. So my experience with the chiropractor was phenomenal. And when I talk about it, I don't talk about the fact that, he did a great job in providing the service and the office was clean and the rates were reasonable. None of that stuff mattered to me. What matters to me when I went to the chiropractor and the fact that I stayed with that chiropractor for about a year, by the time I was finally all the way, no longer regressing any, what mattered to me and what I talk about is the fact that he understood what I was after and he got me back on my feet as fast as possible. That is what really sticks with me. The truth is, between one chiropractor and another, the services might be the same. They might be very similar. Now, obviously, their personal approach will adjust a little bit. One of the things that I really loved about this chiropractor is that, we're a similar age. We have a similar outlook on life. So we have a lot of same values, which makes a big difference. That's a great connection point. But what I talk about when I recommend him to others is not about the fact that he's a great guy. I really love talking with him. What I talk about is the fact that, look, I couldn't even put my own underwear on because I was in so much pain and everything was not working. And I was approaching ski season and I needed to get better. And when I went to go see him, he understood what I was after. He gave me a clear diagnosis right from the start. So we knew what was going on and immediately began moving me towards better health. Those are the things that stick with me. I don't care how long the sessions were. I don't care how often I went to go see him. What I care about is the fact that when I did, I saw almost immediate results. And I know that that's not possible in all businesses. I know that's not possible in all products and services. I get it. But for me, that was the experience. So that's what a testimonial can do, because now when someone else hears that, they're not hearing, okay, this guy was really friendly, or the office was really clean, or it was easy to park, because those things, they weren't really of interest to me. All of those things were true for my chiropractor's office, but none of those things were things that I was specifically looking for. I had a problem, I wanted a solution, and I wanted to get better. And that's what the experience of the chiropractor was. Another really great example of this, and I've only just started working with her, so I haven't put the testimonial together yet. I just hired on a coach. And I believe that, and I know many very successful entrepreneurs believe this as well, that the truth is we all need coaches along the way. And there's a point to which we can up level on our own, but there is going to be a point at which you've reached sort of this like stasis that you need help to overcome the next hurdle. And I've been doing a lot of inner work on my own the last, I would say, 6 or 7 months. And I've had a little bit of assistance along the way, but I've also done a lot on my own. And I talk about that. I share a lot of the tools and the things that I've learned in previous podcast episodes. So definitely check the previous episodes as well. But I came to this point where I just all of a sudden, I had this inner knowing that if I really want to up-level my life, then it's time to bring someone in. And that's a bit scary to me because there's a cost involved to that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I spending money that I shouldn't be right now? Like, should I maybe be hunkering down and focusing just on the business and letting that go? But I've also learned that if I'm unwilling to invest in myself, and if I'm trying to hold off my personal growth in the hopes of my business growing so I can finally invest, it's kind of like paddling backwards and hoping you're going forwards, right? It doesn't really work. You can get some growth, and like definitely there's lots of products that I've put together and tools and strategies that I teach you in the podcast and in the products that I have, which will help you move forward. But all the way through, so in both the Profit Power Pack and in Lost to Launched Academy, I talk about the importance of doing inner growth work along the way. You have to have both. You can never do just one and only one, siloing out, just focusing on your business systems and not being interested in doing any kind of personal growth work because you just won't see results. So I hired on this coach. So far we've had one session. And in our first session, I remember sitting there and being a little bit nervous. So on the drive to meeting with this coach the first time, my body was in full-on revolt. I felt nauseous. I couldn't concentrate. I would look down and catch myself speeding, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if I get pulled over, how do I explain to the cop that I'm so beside myself that I'm terrified of going to this coaching session? How do I explain that to a cop who probably just be like, I don't care, here's your ticket, right? Like that. I was in full revolt against going to this coach, and what I knew. And here's the cool thing, because my body felt that way, because I could feel physically the resistance and the fear around going to this coach, knowing that we're about to do some massive inner work, I knew that it's the right thing to do. So when all the fear about, is this the right time to hire a coach? Should I really be spending money on this? Should I maybe focus on doing some other things first, or servicing some debt first, or, using the financial resources in a different way? When I felt that, I knew that I had made the right decision, because internally my body was like, whoa, like sound the alarm, this is a bad idea. And it was a good way. I've had before where, the alarm goes off and you're like, okay, I need to get out of here a la pronto. Something is not right. I'm not safe. I'm whatever. Like I'm in danger of being hurt or what have you. And then I know that's a totally different kind of physical feeling. You can feel that innately. And this was a different kind of feeling. This was a fear of, we don't know what's going to happen. And we know there's a whole bunch of shit that's about to come out, and I'm terrified of it. So our first session was different than I expected in a lot of ways. And yet at the end of the session was so powerful. And my next session with her is, in a couple of days. So I'm really excited about, what else are we going to go to? But those are the things. So when I think about, what would my testimonial look like for this person? How would I talk about what she's helped me through and, what my initial experience was? It wouldn't be, she provided a great atmosphere and helped me work through some issues, had great snacks. Like, it's none of those things. What I would probably talk about is the fact that this coach held space for me to allow me to dig deep into some dark places that I didn't necessarily want to go, but knew that it was important that I look into, that it's important that I shine a light into some of these areas of my life and of my past, of my beliefs, of my habits, because unless I was willing to look at it, unless I was willing to actually take someone's hand and say, all right, let's do this. I'm terrified, but here we go. Then I wouldn't see growth. And I knew that if I wouldn't see growth, that would impact my businesses in a negative way. And I don't want that. I have, like I said before, I have big goals. I have some like crazy ass goals that when I look at them, I have them written down and I get nauseous. I get nervous inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, Amy, I don't know if you're setting yourself up to fail. And I probably am. There's a lot of failures that I'm sure I will continue to have on the way. But I need to be willing to go and grow, right? So when I talk about, my experience of working with the coach, it would not be specifically about the results that she got, but for me, it would be about the space that she held for me and the ongoing support between sessions. I've had a coach before, and this is totally different, and I love it. I love that there are, in the program that this coach has, they have touch points, so daily touch points where you can check in, and it's an amazing supportive process, because the truth is, when you're going through coaching, it is, I don't think it's smart to just have a session, you have an hour and then you're kicked out because that's it, the hour's up. And then there's no touch point in between. There's a lot of stuff that happens in between the sessions, a lot of things that come up, or fears or doubts, or all of a sudden you might backslide into something that you thought you had already dealt with. So for me, having that ability to connect and feeling that support, and it's not that I hear from my coach every day. In fact, there are often, a number of days between when I might hear from her, or some days I don't connect with her directly either, right? It might be a few days that I'm just not connecting. When I was in San Francisco, we had spotty Wi-Fi. So for those whole 3 or 4 days, she didn't hear from me at all. And that was totally okay. But I knew the whole way through that I had this touch point, that there's someone holding the space for me as I'm in process. So those are the things that I would talk about in the testimonial. If you are at all, I would imagine, if you've been thinking about coaching or you're struggling with something, then my guess is right now, what I'm saying is resonating with you, because you're thinking, wow, I could use that. I can see myself in that. If I just talked about the fact that she had a beautiful space, or the fact that, it was convenient to meet with her, or any of those things, that wouldn't really resonate with you, because that might not be what you're looking for. So that's what a testimonial can do for you and for your business. It will allow your potential customers and clients to see themselves reflected in the words of someone else. And that's why it's such a powerful tool for your business. Now, we're going to wrap it up here shortly, but I would be remiss if I'm like, all right, go get testimonials and have fun, if I didn't talk about how to ask for a testimonial. Now, here's the crazy thing. I think most business owners know that testimonials are really key, very important to their business. And you would probably be shocked to know that most people are terrified to ask for it. And I think, because I think this has sort of been my approach when I first started my business. Now I don't care. I understand the point of it, and I understand why I'm asking for it. But when I first started, I think the fear is that it feels self-aggrandizing. Like, it feels like we're asking someone to, please say nice things about me. I really want to know that I did a good job, and please love all over me and fill me with compliments, and then I can tell other people how great I am. And that's not the point of a testimonial. So until you shift your mindset a little bit around that and go, the testimonial is not about boosting my self-confidence, right? Your self-confidence needs to come from yourself, it comes from inside. So a testimonial is not about building your self-confidence. What a testimonial is a opportunity for potential clients to see themselves in the words of someone else. That's what I've been saying all the way through the episode. So start thinking about a testimonial that way. And the cool thing is when you begin to think of it that way, what you actually create a bit of a separation from the emotional investment of feeling like a testimonial needs to be positive and feeling like it's a reflection of how good you are. The truth is, yeah, I mean, if you did a terrible job or if your client's really unhappy, then you're obviously not going to ask them for a testimonial, right? Because you don't necessarily want to have that kind of review. Although sometimes people will leave a review for you anyway, whether you like it or not. If they do, be grateful for it. Be open to looking beyond just the words that the person has said and say, okay, what could I maybe have done better? Or in the last podcast episode, I talked about managing expectations. So, did I maybe not manage expectations well? Could I have done better that way? So negative reviews are actually very powerful for you because they are immense learning tools and they're fantastic ways to improve and grow your business. Some of the most powerful strategies that I have in my business came from clients that were nightmares. So just keep that in mind, that those are opportunities for you to grow and to really build a phenomenal business. Let's talk about how to ask for a testimonial. When you are nearing the end of a project or a service, or let's say, for example, if you sell a product, you don't ask for a testimonial the minute that you sell it. Here's the best way that I found to ask for a product or ask for a testimonial. So when I work with my design clients, I only ask for testimonials of people that I know I've done it. First of all, I know I've done a fantastic job, that they're happy with the outcome. Whether or not we had hiccups along the way is not really an issue because they all do, so that's fine. But right around the end, I typically will send out a questionnaire. Basically, I just want to have a review of, how everything worked. Were they happy with the contractors? Was there something that they could have done better? Did they find value in working with me as a designer? Because that's important to me. I want to make sure that they found value in the cost of my services. So I send out the questionnaire and then I finish. One of the last things I say is if you'd be willing to provide a testimonial. And then, like I said before, I always ask them how they'd like to be referenced when I use that testimonial in my marketing tools. So that's a really simple way that you can ask for a testimonial. You're asking them to give you a review of your services. It is not self-aggrandizing. This is not about, having them confirm that you're so amazing and you're the best thing since sliced bread. What you actually want to do when you create a review is to ask really good questions to find out what worked and what didn't. Like I said, some of the most powerful tools that I have in my business came out of projects where things didn't work. So they become really powerful for all the future clients, and it's a learning moment for me. So that's a really easy way to ask for a testimonial. If you are not doing a review process, or for example, I have a lot of clients who come back over and over again, and so I'm not going to have them do a full review every time because we may have started with a major renovation and then the next project might be, selecting some decor or lighting or furniture. So I'm not going to have them do a full review every time. But if I either haven't asked for a testimonial yet, or I want a testimonial for specifically that experience, maybe there was something in that experience that I think was really neat, and some of the words that the clients had said along the way said to me, here's somewhere where I should ask for testimonial, then I just asked them, it's really been a pleasure working with you. I would really love and appreciate if you would provide me with a testimonial of your experience. If you would be willing to do that, please let me know. You can send me a testimonial by text, whether it's by email or text message, what have you. You can do a Google review. That's always a good one too. Lots of people like to do a Google review. It's simple. They just need to log in. And if they want to do that, I always send them the link where they can find it. But I make it easy for them. And the most important thing is that I ask for it. Now, if you are a product-based business, I want you to pay close attention here. If you are a product-based business, do not ask for the testimonial as soon as you've sold the product, right? They haven't had a chance to use it yet. Here's a beautiful opportunity for you to build a relationship with a client. When you sell a product, make sure that you have some way to follow up with them. So ask them, I don't know what the process is in your business. Maybe you collect phone numbers, or maybe you collect email addresses, whatever it is. And it doesn't even have to be that you want to add them to an email list, although it is a really fantastic opportunity for you to grow your list that way. But if you say to clients, you know what, I would really love to follow up with you in a week or two to find out how you like the product. How might I do that? What would be the best way for me to do that? When you ask with respect, most people are open to it. Then, once you have that, you check in. So let's say you sell the product on a Tuesday, maybe, and it's something that they're likely going to use on the weekend, or if it's like a health and beauty product, maybe they're going to use it right away. So then make a point to check in with them personally in 5 to 7 days and just say, hey, Jennifer, I just wanted to see how, the face cream was working for you, or I know you stopped in to get that really fantastic fitting bra. Is it how does it feel? Is it comfortable? Are you happy with your purchase? I just want to find out, I want to make sure that it's working for you. And if not, let's talk about what we can do to find a better fit or what have you. So first of all, that builds a relationship with your client, because your client goes, wow, okay, this person actually really cares whether or not this product is working for me, right? So that's a really easy thing that you can do to begin. Once you've checked in and you know that things are going really well, then after that you can say, you know what, I'm so glad this product is working so well for you. I would really appreciate it if you would be willing to leave me a short testimonial. Let me rephrase that. To leave a short testimonial. You don't want it to be leaving you a testimonial. You want it to be about the product. So I'd really appreciate it if you would leave a brief testimonial about the product and what you really love about it and what you were expecting from it. Because those are the words that people will see themselves in. Remember, your testimonial is all about creating an opportunity for people to see themselves in the words of someone else. Now, in the event that you check in with this person about the product and they were unhappy with the product or unhappy about how it worked or fit or what have you, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to problem solve with them and find out what you can do to make their experience better, because that's truly what will make your business grow. So I was in Bath and Body Works yesterday. I was in the mall returning some shoes, and I popped in because it's summertime here. I've gotten my first very light sunburn, and I'm flat out of body butter. I'm like, okay, I need to get some lotion because summer is dry where I live, and even though it's raining today, I need to make sure that I have, body lotion for not becoming a total raisin by the end of the summer. So I stop into Bath and Body Works, and I've used their products for years. I have a body lotion that I used to wear all the time, and so when I used to wear it, I bought it in bulk. I think I bought 6 bottles at a time. I had a bunch of bottles still in my drawer that I wasn't using anymore because there was a point at which the scent became too strong for me. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? So I wasn't sure. I happened to pop in again. I was looking for a body butter, and the salesperson was really helpful. And I said to her, I don't even remember how it came up, but I basically asked her, I said, I have these body lotions that are fantastic, and I've never used them, but I don't use the smell anymore. And she's like, just bring them back. I said, what do you mean bring them back? I've had them for a couple of years now. I don't even have the receipt. I said, that doesn't matter. Bring them back. We will always return or exchange products for you. Even if they've been used and you don't like it, even if they've sat in your drawer for 7 or 8 years, whatever, just bring them back. We always want to service our clients. I left the store. I've always been impressed with Bath & Body Works products. So I've gone back if I've ever needed to get things like that. I don't buy it that often, but when I do, I go there. But that left me feeling like, wow, this company, now I understand, Bath & Body Works is a big company, so the employees are not the ones who are saying that this is possible, right? That comes from somewhere higher up. But what I took away from it is that this company understands and pays attention to what its customers want and need. So if I'm paying $15 for a bottle of lotion, now that might not seem like a lot, but to me, I'm just like, really, $15 for a bottle of lotion? Like I could get a $5 bottle of lotion that's twice as big at Walmart, right? Like there's got to be some, benefit to me. And I really I like their products. I like how they feel. I like how they sit on my skin. I like the sense of them. So, it's worth going back. But when I heard that, I'm like, wow, okay, that's something that really stands out. Because can you? Like, I can't think of another business, especially a product-based business like that has that kind of a policy. The funny thing is, the shoes that I had gone in to return, I had bought, those little socks that are supposed to go inside like flats or what have you. And I'm a size 9 shoe. I was in a bit of a rush the day that I bought the shoes, and I bought the socks to go with them. And I got home, I took the packaging off, I put one sock on my foot and went, well, that's not going to work. They're way too small. And I looked at the packaging and it said something like size 5 to 9.5. Now, first of all, I don't understand how a sock can fit from both a 5 to a 9.5. That's a huge difference in feet, let me just say. But when I went to return it, they did return it for me. I have to say the manager had like the worst customer service skills I've seen in a long time. And literally she said to me, well, once they're out of the package, we don't generally return them, but it's fine. And the truth was I had them all wrapped up and everything. The only way that you'd know that they weren't in the package was that if you look closely, you could see that I had taped where I had cut the band that goes around it. And I'm like, okay. But it was like, somehow like she's doing me a favor. Okay, fine, I'll return them for you, but we don't normally do this, which left me with not a very good taste in my mouth, right? Now, I'll go back to the shoe store probably. I don't buy shoes a lot. I know that's a shocker. Even if I'll go back and buy shoes from them, it kind of leaves a taste in my mouth of going like, oh, okay, so it's not exactly the easiest necessarily to return. And I need to really be careful now before I buy products in the future to make sure that I don't try something thinking that if it doesn't work, I can bring it back and then find out that no, I can't return it after all. So when I was at Bath and Body Works and this was after I stopped at the shoe store, when I was there and they were just like, bring it back. We want our clients to be happy. We do anything we can to, make sure that the products work for you. That stands out. So those are the things that you want to pay attention to. So at that point, the truth is the sales associate from Bath and Body Works could have easily said, hey, we're taking testimonials right now. If you're open to it, there's a survey at the end of your receipt, or we'll send you a quick email to ask for a review. We'd love it if you gave us a review. And you can bet your arse that I would go in and be like, I am so impressed with them right now. Here's my experience. Everybody there was really helpful, right? Like that's huge. So those are the kinds of things to pay attention to. But you gotta know when to ask and how to ask. So always ask with respect. Always be okay with the fact that they might say no, and that's okay. That's not a reflection on you. It's just that they may not, for whatever reason, they don't want to give you a review. That's fine too. Do not ask at the beginning. So I had a business that I worked with recently where I had just engaged their services, and they hadn't actually done anything for me yet. And they asked me if I would be a reference and provide a review for them. And I remember thinking like, well, we haven't actually done any work together. How can I be a reference at all? And what am I going to review about when we haven't actually done any work together? That doesn't make any sense to me. So that's the wrong time to ask. The best time to ask is right after you've provided the service. And again, you want to make sure that you really super delivered. I talk about how to deliver like a rock star in the Profit Power Pack. That is the bonus that's associated with the Profit Power Pack and has some really key tools and strategies in there. So you always want to make sure that you're over-delivering, that your clients are becoming raving fans like I am about Bath & Body Works now. And when you know that you've really done your best and you've really nailed it and your client is happy, immediately afterwards, that's when you ask for the testimonial. You want their experience to be fresh. A lot of people will do this where all of a sudden, 6 months or a year down the road, they're like, crap, I don't have any testimonials. Okay, who can I go back to ask for a testimonial? All of us, we have so much going on. I mean, it's not easy to go back and go, oh yeah, okay. So I remember, this is what I was thinking and this is how I was feeling. You want to ask for that testimonial when it's fresh, when they're still in the glow of achievement, right? They're still at the point of like, wow, I'm so happy with the results. That's when you want to ask for the testimonial. And the last thing that I would just say around asking for a testimonial, give them options and make it really easy. So like I said, I include the ask for the testimonial in my review, but if I don't do a review with the client and I still ask for a testimonial, I usually ask for it by email because I include links. So, it'll say something along the lines of, I really love if you would write a testimonial so others can understand and learn about your experience. If you would like to do it on Google, here's the link. And it literally just takes them to like the link on Google where they can find my business and write a review. I can't send them to anything more specific than that because they need to be in their own Google account. If they want to just submit me a testimonial that I can use either on my website or on Instagram or what have you, they can reply to the email as well. Just send me an email and let me know, write the testimonial in the email. And then the last thing I ask, and this is really key, guys, I really want you to pay attention to this. When you're asking for a testimonial, always ask your client how they'd like to be referenced. In today's age of privacy and, all the stuff that's going on, it's super important to respect your client's privacy, to understand that they may not want to be specifically associated with your business. Think about this. If you provide something that's really personal, like let's say you're, a gynecologist or something, then, they might have had a great experience as much as you can, but they may not want it to say like, Amy Van Meel went here, right? They might want to have their name not necessarily associated with it, or maybe it's just their first name, what have you. So ask them how they'd like to be referenced. I always give 3 options: full first and last name and last initial, first initial and last name. And I do want sort of both ends, whether it's like a first name and a last initial or a first initial and a last name, because in my mind, and that might be just me making stuff up, but in my mind, that's a more credible testimonial, more credible reference point than if I just said Janet from Calgary. Janet could be anybody, but if I say Janet M, all of a sudden that's like, oh, that could be a real person. So ask your client how they would prefer to be sourced. It's so important. Your client will love you for respecting their privacy, and they will always be really clear about it. When I submit it in my review documentation, it's literally a checkbox. Just check which one you're comfortable with, and that's how I'll source you. All right? Okay, team. So there you go. That is all about testimonials today. I trust you've gotten some fantastic value out of today's episode. Today's been a little bit longer, and I apologize if you're like, Amy, you just keep talking. But testimonials are really important for your business and can be really powerful tools if you know how to ask for them and use them. A real quick note about using a testimonial: once you're given a testimonial, you can use it in pretty much all of your marketing materials. So if they submit a Google review, you could copy that text over onto your website. You could potentially create an Instagram post about it. You could use it in, ads marketing, things like that. You can pull even just a sentence out of it. So I use it I did a trial with business cards where on the back side of the business card, I have a brief snapshot of a testimonial. So you can, once you've been given the testimonial, you can use it in pretty much all of your marketing materials. Again, the important thing is to ask how you're referencing your client. All right. So just be respectful of their privacy. Whether or not you have privacy issues on your own is not the point here. The point is that you want to be respectful of your client. All right, team, I wish you a fantastic rest of the day. I'm stoked to see you again here on the podcast next week. I would love if you have questions or comments about today's episode, head on over and find me on Instagram at IDareToBegin. And leave a comment just on the most recent post and just say, hey, Amy, I was listening to episode 24 and I learned this and I really love it. I would love it if you're on iTunes and you feel so inclined to leave a review. Here's my ask for the testimonial. I would love it if you leave a review on iTunes as well, so that others can see the value that you got out of it. That's the whole purpose of a testimonial, and that's why I asked for the review. I wish you a phenomenal week, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you on next week's episode. Bye for now.